call this meeting to order. Thank you for coming. This is our regular board meeting number 798. And first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take a motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. And first up, we have the preliminary year-end data report with Mr. McLaughlin and Andrew. Thank you.
Good evening, thanks for having us. We are really excited to celebrate some highlights from the school year. We'll start with the Idaho Reading Indicator, which you know is the assessment we take across kindergarten through third grade, and we are celebrating incredible growth. It's given in the fall, and then again for the state in the spring. So you can see our bar graphs moving up as we would expect, fall to spring, but absolutely incredible celebration at kindergarten. We ended at 92% proficient for those early readers. Amazing, and that will just continue to yield gains across our system as those kids come in as readers. Really impressive. On the next slide, you'll get to see a comparison of last year to this year. So I'll actually jump over here first. Our goal is always to push 80%, and we may be close when the state finalizes the data. Right now we're sitting at 79, but across K-3 we have 79% of our students scored proficient on that spring assessment. A year ago in the spring we were at 75. So every year we're just inching closer and closer. Really incredible celebration, and thanks to all of our staff working across the system. Back on the left you saw that kindergarten gain was just amazing, 37% gain from fall to spring. And then this is one of the reports we look at because tier 1, those would be our on-level readers. Tier 2 here you see kind of strategic, and then tier 3 would be our students of greatest need. We showed a high rate of improvement across all 3 tiers. So we're taking our confident readers, moving them forward, we're plugging holes where needed, and we're using interventions to move all students. So that's a pretty impressive report to see a high rate of improvement for all of our readers. Then we move to the ISAT, the state assessment that you know is given grades 3rd through 11th. And we created this table just to show you how our district compares to the state across every single one of those subtests at every grade level. So again, we tied or beat the state at every grade level in every subject tested. So as an example, if you look across 7th grade there, LPOSD, we scored 56% proficient on the math exam. Only 43% of the students in the state scored proficient. Look at ELA, 70% for LPOSD as compared to 56% for the state. And then you see science is only given at 5th and then 8th and 11th. So again, celebrations across the ISAT as well.
Does anyone need a second? This is one information.
Numbers. That's amazing. A lot of
Great.
numbers.
Yes.
Are we asking questions?
Sure. Yes, please.
Yeah. Why are those ones not tested? Is that by design?
For the state, at the state, yeah, not an LPOSD choice, but that's where they put the science exam. Next slide.
Yeah, so bright spots. We want to go through a few just bright spots. There are a lot of bright spots. We highlighted a few of them, but they're all over our district. As you can see, we can pull out a bunch everywhere. But we did want to highlight some that were pretty significant. So overall, our 11th grade growth was significant. The 11th grade cohort, so right, they were 10th graders last year, 11th graders this year. And they had a 5% gain in ELA, so 67% to 72% from when they're in 8th grade. And one thing you have to understand is that ISATs work. It's a little confusing because students take their ISATs all the way from 3rd grade through 8th grade, and then they stop and take them again at 11th. so they only take about 11. So we have that gap that just makes it a little more difficult to track, a group all the way through. So that one way at high school that we do that, we always try to follow the cohort to see specifically how that group's doing. But at high school, sometimes we look year after year at 11th grade just to kind of see how that's going. And then specifically, Sandpoint High School had incredible growth. They gained 13% in ELA from last year to this year, and 15% in science from last year to this year. Pretty amazing. And in math, they met their goal. And then Clark Fork, 11th grade ELA in math as well. In-person students at Clark Fork reached 88% proficiency in ELA, and they grew 22% in math from 20 to 22. Really strong. And then 7th grade ELA, overall 7th grade cohort had an 8% gain in ELA from 62 to 70% from where that cohort was in 6th grade, so the next year, right?
And we've been working hard with our focus on elementary mathematics. We've integrated new materials. We have a leadership team. We're working really hard. And 6th grade shows a celebration this year of that work. That cohort gained 13%, up from 47% as 5th graders to 60% proficient now in 6th grade. So as kids move forward a year, we made a really large gain. So celebration there.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's nice to celebrate. And then our one trusted adult, again, this is one of our initiatives that I know the board has been really interested in and that we've talked about and that we've highlighted as a district and find it incredibly important, not only for that connection, but also for school safety. This is one of the biggest indicators of school safety is that students can recognize and can say, hey, I've got this person as a trusted adult in school. So in the district, we took our baseline in the fall and we had 91.57, and this is amazing. And we now that we just did this again, 99.36% of our students can indicate who their trusted adult was in their schools. So really incredible.
We, in January, so at the end of the first semester, halfway through the year, we ran an attendance challenge district-wide, and kudos to all those in the room who worked really hard on student attendance, connecting kids, getting kids to school. Every school made some really major effort and gain here. Sagal Elementary ended up with the largest gain across semester 1 of this year as compared to last year. So looking at that data through January of each year, from 93% up to 98% present in first semester at Sagal Elementary. So again, kids are feeling connected and they're also coming to school. So big celebration there.
The CFO's happy about that one.
And then our last is, I just want to highlight the Sandpoint High School, their efforts and their student cohort. And this is again by cohort, and you can track it according to the coloring. But I'm really going to just show the year after year growth because I think that's pretty significant. And so if you look at the gray across the bottom, in 22-23, we had 89% attendance. Okay, the next year, we had 95.8, and that has gone up this year to 96.7. So incredible growth, and I just really want to highlight that for Sandpoint High School and their team. They've been really, I guess, a lot of different measures, and I could go into a bunch of different things, but they have really focused on this as an important measure. So, overall, I think we've had an amazing year. It really has been, I think, since I've been in this position, probably the best year we've had data-wise, and really excited to see. So.
Strongest IRI growth we've shown across all 7 years of that assessment. So thank you again to our leaders, our staff, our students, our families, and you all to help make this happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, next up is the superintendent report with Dr. Becky Meyer.
Okay. Geez, I don't want to follow that. Now I know how Brian feels
Yeah.
following the students. Darn it.
That's right. You could be the downer now.
I'm just going to stand up.
Casey's been trying to cheer her up all day.
Okay. You know our strategic plan. Wanted to let you know about school safety. We finished our last EVAC reunification drill at the Bonner County Fairgrounds with Washington. A big shout out to Tasha Hamer and the principal, We took both third grade classrooms, and so it was the largest students we've done so far. And JD and Kelly were in charge of it. Kelly and JD did a lot of site visits, mapping, getting everything ready. Kelly's the lead for the district on reunification, and then the CSOs help support her. So she put in a lot of time and organization to get ready, and then JD McElroy, the CSO in town, helped a lot as well. The Big Daddy is coming up in October. Again, I don't give out the dates ahead of time for safety reasons, and afterwards I tell you the date so that you know when we did it. But we are going to be working on the Sandpoint High School, Sandpoint Middle School, Homeschool Academy campus. So we're still working on the scenario and how that's going to look, but it will be we're not taking the whole school, but we are going to be taking several classrooms, not just one classroom. So we got to talk to Jackie, and we're going to concentrate on Sandpoint High School. So JD and Kelly are going to talk to the principal Crossingham about that. That's going to be a big one.
Did they reunify at St. Joseph?
We were doing that, but now that's not the first site. That's only a second site. If there's non-injuries, we use the Bonner Carrying Fairgrounds because we met with law enforcement, and should there be mass casualties or a big incident that happens on the campus, they would probably be closing down
The whole area.
the whole area,
Yeah.
Lincoln and what's that street?
Ontario.
Ontario. We wouldn't be able to get families in there, they said. So once we met with them, they suggested that we don't use that as the reunification site. So we do have it as a site too if we need it for something, but if there is any injuries to students or staff, we are going to need to go to the Bonner County Fairgrounds for our reunification site.
For SHS, sorry.
No, it's great. Usually you guys don't ask me questions, so it's nice.
So in that scenario, heaven forbid it actually ever happened, then you deploy, I'm assuming all of the school buses would have to go to SHS to haul that many kids, right?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Without going into too much detail, it depends how many kids you need to actually take.
Okay.
And then also, JD and Keith Delahunty have just gone through Asher training, and that talks about the waves. So we just learned at District Safety Task Force training last night. There's a first wave where they go through and get critical incidents.
Yeah.
And then we're coming up with maps for every school where the ambulance go. We're meeting with the ambulance with Alan, and we're having a lane for ambulances and then a lane for buses and then blocked off for the fire engine. So, I mean, we're really far ahead of anybody else in North Idaho. I'm not trying to brag, but nobody else has gone to this level of preparation. And my saying is the more we prepare, the less we're going to need it. So I feel really confident in our preparation.
Cool.
But if depending on the waves that go through, there's different colors that they put on them, like red if they need the ambulance and different colors. They go through a wave to check for if there's a second shooter, and then they go through, make sure it's clear, and then they start to go through everyone and look for who needs critical incidents. The ambulances come, then they start to go through each one for the next color, and then at that point they would be having students evacuate, and they'd be going in waves. So a bus could be there, they could fill up the 72 kids, take them to the evacuation site. Then there would be 2 or 3 buses, but they won't all be going at once.
Yeah.
So it definitely, you can't plan out because you never know everything that's going to happen, but we have talked through scenario after scenario after scenario after scenario, and we still, even last night, had another meeting after the meeting at District Safety Task Force to talk about, okay, if Alan puts the ambulances here, then we do this, and then what will we do with the middle school? Could we take them over? And so you have a lot of, I just want to reassure you, have a lot of smart brains, not mine, but a lot of smart law enforcement brains that from different agencies that are all talking together. And it was really wonderful. Mike Brambilla, who used to be one of our CSOs, he is now working at the Bonner County Sheriff's Office, and he is going to be coming to our monthly meetings, so we have a consistent person in the Sheriff's Office, because it's really, really positive news.
Cool.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, so looking at the CTE, CTEC groundbreaking was yesterday. Thank you. Several of you in this room were there yesterday, and thank you to the 3 trustees who showed up. And here's where the site is going to be. Thank you to Matt Deal for getting the excavator. you can kind of see it over to the side, there was a little piece of ground that he got, that Roy got.
Could have used some teeth on the bucket,
Yeah.
though. It was a little, I thought, oh my gosh, this isn't gonna work.
It was like,
Harder, Roy, harder.
get a shovel, get a shovel.
The grass was a little more dry.
It was,
Yeah.
it was solid.
It was hard.
You could have just wetted that spot down at least.
There was a lot of people there, so it was a real positive. I do want to, Darren's not here today, but I do want to thank Darren Svan, our community relations liaison. He suggested we do this, and I said, no, let's wait till it's built, do a ribbon cutting, and he said, no, we really want to get people excited and show them where the site is, and it was a good choice on his part. So thankful for everybody that showed up and to the trustees for supporting it. I would like we have students show up. There's really, one of them is Andra's daughter, Sienna, just pointing that out. But we had these wonderful 4 ladies come after the international relations class. They came and said, how can we, they want to do a project, all of them do a project in that class. How can we extend the student safety summits that you had with getting off the laptops and getting off your cell phones and really enjoying the environment that we're in, and they came up with this entire thing on their own. So they want to extend, which is one of our student connection deliverables, is increasing, fostering student well-being. And they came up with this idea all on their own, and they're going to do a competition for students all through the summer to get off of their electronics and spend more time outside and bonding with their family. And we're going to have little prizes and stuff, and it's all student driven. They came and presented to the admin team, and the K-12 admin team last meeting approved it and gave them suggestions. So this is like student voice at its finest right here. This is like distinguished stuff right there.
Anecdotally, I've heard multiple parents talking to other parents about the Student Safety Summit. When something comes up, they're like, oh, did you go to that? Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, well, here, you really need to,
Read
talk
it.
about the book. And so
Okay.
it's really great. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, it was well worth it. They already talked about the One Trusted Adult initiative, but really cool. Not Harley, what was his name? Was Sherry Hadley? Matt? Harley? Anyway, that kid over there is the first, what's his name? Hunter. Hunter, I knew it started with an H, thanks guys. He used to walk to school. His dad said he was a single dad. And he used to send him all the way from home, and he had to walk to Clark Fork. And he said he would get there by the end of the school day, just have to get on the bus to go home, but his dad made him do it. I was like, that's the best parenting ever. I haven't heard anybody with this great at parenting in years. And he went to Hope, and then he went to Clark Fork. He transferred to LPOSD, and he graduated there, his One Trusted Adult, Sherry Hatley. And to have that kid graduate from high school, to talk to that family, was like it was probably the brightest spot of my entire year. It was miraculous what has happened in that family from him making it through graduation. It's really happy. And then of course JD here with another JD at Washington Elementary. This is I don't know if you guys read about this, but Matt Brass, the IT director, had an idea. Hey, these Chromebooks are coming off where you have to turn them over so you can recycle them and you barely get anything from them. He asked our DLT, would you let us sell them for $5 to seniors, and they get to take their Chromebook with them. And we're not going to get that much for turning them in anyways, and so we did it, and so 80%
Wow.
of seniors. Does that blow you away?
That's cool.
I didn't have any
I
idea
wouldn't have
that
guessed
many.
that number.
Good deal, huh?
They were excited.
Yeah. You guys too?
You can't buy anything for $5.
Yeah.
That's great. I think that's great. Instead of just getting more, yeah, cheaper than Starbucks. I do want to say thank you to Coach Demers. We have a javelin for the first time. Brian Smith also helps, but Brian Smith told us you really have to thank Trustee Dave Demers because he's the one that really coached. And we have a javelin winner. She won state.
Yeah.
And Dave coached her, so.
She's an amazing girl.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
State record.
State and, yeah.
Number 40 in the nation.
Every time she throws at state.
Good job, Coach.
Yeah. But it was the first year of this event.
Yeah.
So that's a
Nice.
big deal. That's a big deal. Anyway, so thank you for volunteering your time on the board and as a coach. So thank you. And you're not really a staff person, but I put it under quality staff. Sorry.
Well, you got one right. Of quality or staff.
Okay, now our annual parent survey results. It's still open, but as of this morning, this is what it is. I've actually got a couple of more, even more today, so I'm not gonna, Kelly and I talked about, I'm not gonna shut it down yet. I will share with the board. I'll probably give the last little week and then turn it down. But the final loop went out today for the end of the year, and I think that it kind of gets people, yeah. But our parent responses, by me sending out separately instead of just in the loop, it went up 201.6%. So when it was in the loop two months in a row, we only got 126 parents. This year there's 380. So that I will do a separate thing next year again. That helped with me, like, hey, I'd love to hear your feedback. And then last year it was 3.1 for overall satisfaction. It went up to 3.35 as the average.
So I was trying to read a lot of the comments and stuff, and as I was blowing it up, I mean, it got blurry. I couldn't read. It was so small. Is there a way to?
You're looking at the
That's
past
different.
system. That's a different thing.
Different one.
I haven't shared this. I haven't shared these with you.
That's like a survey.
Oh,
This I'm going to share with you, and then you can change it to whatever
Okay.
you're saying you want. And we can fix the other one by giving you the original.
okay.
Yeah, different.
So here is the overall. I just told you it was 3.35. Here's what it looks like. How many people did and it was all the way from extremely dissatisfied to extremely satisfied. And Casey and Andrew made me change it to a 4-point scale. I wanted 5 with the 3 in the middle, but they both said, statistically it's better, Becky, if you keep on the 4-point scale. So 3.5, that's really good.
Yeah.
What I value most, it is always the teachers and the staff in every district I've been in every survey I've done. It's always the teachers and the staff. 61.6% this year said that. And the second was educational opportunities, and number 3 here is safety and security, and they're exact same 3 in that order, not the same percentage, but same order last year.
Yeah.
So stays 3 for our parents. And then this is responding, you can see, I'll make sure I don't do this. This is supposed to be red, but it's not working. 380, that means that's this year. This one down on the bottom is last year's 126. So there is a decrease in the facilities. You can see last year, the facilities is green, and it was 28.6%. It's only 16.8% this year. And I believe that's because we got that facility money. So that school modernization facility funds, I think people know that changes are coming, and maybe, that's my guess. I don't know what the reason is. But there is a decrease in the importance of that, and you can see the maintain reasonable class sizes is number 1 on both years. And I'll give you all this raw data, but this is just important to share it publicly. Areas I'd like to see improved in our district, conditions of our facilities. Again, last year was 48.4, it's still the highest at 43.2. And then the pink one is extracurricular programs and opportunities is 12.4. Last year it was, the second was other areas they put. And then, so. And then parent engagement, describing their level of engagement with the school, again on a 4-point scale. We were 308 last year and we went to 304, but that's negligible difference, so it's stayed about the same. Just more, and there's more people that answered this year. I want to remind everyone that Saturday is Every Student Graduates a Reader, the Chafe Ride by Rotary. It's happening. My husband and I are doing the Heron Rest Stop. You're doing Bacon Station?
No, I'm doing Troy, Montana restaurant.
Troy, Montana. He's making homemade baked goods.
Yeah.
This is the thing. This is the thing.
Yeah, peel the sticker off. Right?
Okay, let's not put that on video. And anyway, and then Lisa McElroy and her team are doing the Bacon Station at Yak. Is that right? Yeah. So we have 3 stations we're doing, and all the proceeds of the Chafe 150 will go to Every Student Graduates a Reader. So we're super happy about that community connection. Reminding you our community connection of the loop. So today was the June, I didn't put that in, but the May, and this is the May, and again, all the past ones are linked in here if anybody wants to look at that. the center of all we do, student learning, remembering this is the year we focus on your one thing, every student, every day, the board's focus goals. We don't have we just went through everything except for the graduation rate won't be until November is appeals, so it'll be a little bit
Okay.
till we get that next February, actually, when they'll be finalized. Any questions?
No,
Okay,
great stuff.
thank you.
Good stuff.
All right, next we don't have any public comment?
Correct.
Okay. And moving on to the consent agenda, and we'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. Now we're moving on to action items. And we have, first up is CFO Brian Wallace on our budget.
Do you want me to click or do you want me to?
Chair Williams, trustees, Dr. Meyer, this is our annual budget hearing, it's required by law. Also to, sort of see where we're going for next year. That's actually the cover of the format that we send to the state. The first thing I always like to show when I do this is this format. It's pretty ugly. It's separated. I did separate it with a little bit of the shading in the general fund and then all our other funds. The reason I show this is because this is what we have to publish in the newspaper. This is the format that is given to us by the state. And so I just like to show the board, this is actually what was in the paper 2 weeks running in the legals. And actually, everything I'm going to talk about after this in our budget is really in this format. There's a lot of numbers, I'm not going to get into the details here because other sides will go, but it really does sort of show a couple past years' history, the budget from last year, the budget this year, on sort of this real global look at the budget. But just so you know, that was in the Bonner County Bee, and I didn't get any comments on it when they published it twice, but that's pretty difficult for a school district budget. So, one thing I'd like to talk about is, how do we get our revenues from the state? Because we know we have our levy, but really the bulk of our revenues still, as a district, are from state funding. And there's two things. One, actually, when we had the achievement report, talking about the attendance and the goals, that's one is a big one. So how much your enrollment you have and how often those kids show drives your funding. The other thing is staffing, because if you have a more experienced teaching staff, you get more dollars from the state, because the way the formula works is they give you more for more experienced staff on that curve ladder. So that's formula's been in since the 1990s. That hasn't changed. And so when we look at that, here's our enrollment history. I went all the way back to 2009-10. You can see like the big dip. I think that might have been when the charter school came in. And then we sort of went back up to about 3,800 and then had the big drip, 34. That was the COVID. We got it back, and then you can see that we sort of held sort of flat the last few years. But how does that relate to funding? We get funded by units, what they call it. And you can see that I went to 2012-13, not all the way back to 2010 on the units as what I could easily grab from the state. But there's our funding units. And you can see that in the red it went up. That was really the COVID years when they let us use enrollment.
That's right.
Instead of ADA. And so our units went up because we didn't have the whatever there. But look at this. If I go back, and you can see we had almost 4,000 kids in 2013-14. In 2013-14, we only had 176 funding units. But in 2024-25, I had 190 units with less kids. That's all related to the attendance of what they're doing. So each unit, we want to put that in perspective. So not only do we want the kids to be here for the program, roughly a unit's $150,000. You have 14 units, like $2 million. I mean, that's a huge difference on our budget because kids are attending school. So obviously we know we're having those achievement growth because they're attending school. but also we have more resources to support them because they're there. And it's all just based on the funding formula. But that is, yeah, the data really shows that you go, wow, it's a huge difference. So one thing, I'm going to sort of that format that first big ugly slide had, I'm just taking to the general fund. And so we're projecting that we're going to start with about almost $20.5 million in fund balance for the general fund. And again, that's a very healthy fund balance for a district of our size. Our revenues, our local tax revenue is $13 million. Most of that's our supplemental levy. We also have a little bit of tax revenue from a tort levy that is allowed by law to help pay for our insurance. And other local dollars that come in, grants, interest on our money and things like that. But you can see the state revenue, there really is at 34.8 is our biggest funding. There's not a whole lot of dollars from federal revenue in the general fund. I'll show you where that is on the other funds. So total revenues, 49 million. Total available funds, we've spent every dollar we had in the bank. We could really have a big year and spend 70 million and have nothing left. But expenditures, you can see that, again, mostly salaries and benefits really drive our general fund budget, the vast majority, and then purchasers, supply materials, capital outlay insurances are much smaller. But we are planning to cut into fund balance. That's been part of the plan. We're going to try to extend the time that we may go out and ask the community to increase our permanent supplemental levy as costs keep rising. But right now, since we're in a healthy position, that's not the plan right now. But if everything happened perfectly, we would cut into fund balance a couple $1 million. So if we look at our revenues, just to look at it graphically, you can see that the state foundation program, where attendance is involved and the experience of our staff, is the bulk of our funding at 62%. You also have in that red 8% of state categorical programs. It's like we get literacy dollars, we get state technology dollars, there's professional development, little pots of money here and there that we get. So that's additional state funding. And when they had talked about changing the formula, some of those red items would have gone into the blue. Okay. But they didn't change that law, so this is how we are doing it this year. You can see our local tax revenue is the next, which is significant, 27% of the budget. So that supplemental levy is huge in this to be able to support the program. And the other is like the federal and small local. Okay. Where do we spend our dollars? Big blue, salaries and benefits. It's typical of public agencies and school districts in Idaho. They're about 85%. At 60 is salaries and benefits. It's typical of the fire department. It's typical of the police department because we put staff in front of kids. We put good teachers, principals, bus drivers, counselors, CFOs. One of me. That's it. You can see that are much smaller. Our purchase service supply materials, a little bit of capital, and the general fund. I'll show you we have much more planned than the others, and then the transfers out and a few other things. So this is that other side, that right side, all of our other funds. And that's every other fund that we have. We have our federal funds, we have our state facility money funds now. And so all those, if you combine them all, they're starting with a beginning fund balance of almost $22.5 million. That, I highlighted, that is not where we were last year. And why is that? Because this year we got a $17 million payment from the state for our state modernization fund that we're going to use for Sandpoint Middle School. So we received those dollars this year. So they're starting. The other, to get to that 22, another almost $3 million is in the state facilities fund. That Hospital 292 money, that we have $3 million built up there. Again, we're spending some of that money next year, but we're also saving it for future projects. And so just right there is over $20 million. So most of that wasn't there. Like if you went back 3 years, wouldn't have a start balance like that. That's really coming from the state. And you can see that, again, the revenue we'll receive when you look below that, again, most of it is $5.7 million. That's state revenue. Most of that state revenue, a good chunk of that is that state facilities fund that we get a payment each year for. Our federal programs are here, and then a few other sources. Again, if we look at the expenditures, previous years mostly it would have been salaries and benefits, which is typical, but we're planning out of these other funds to spend almost $11.8, $11.9 million in capital. That is, we haven't spent that much money on capital projects since Kootenai Elementary was quite built. So this is, you know, there's a lot of challenges with the state funding, but the resources they're putting on the state facilities, that how it's impacted our district, is a real positive for sure. And so if we look at this, the state revenue still and all those other funds, still mostly from the state. And, I'm sorry, all funds, this is including the general fund. So you can see that the state isn't quite as much as a percentage, because this is where our federal revenue, when you look at the whole thing, is only 6% of the funding. So federal revenues in the big picture are, it's a, you know, it's $3.3 million. It's a significant funding, but in the big picture, it's not the bulk of our funding. And our expenditures, you can see that when you include that $11 million or almost $12 million of capital spending with all of our funds, then really our salaries and benefits are just 70% of the pie, because of when we combine that new funding, where 4 years ago that would have been looked more like the general fund. So that's a real positive, especially looking at our strategic plan and our goals to improve our facilities. And so I have a few of these I want to show to tie into those capital projects. So Fund 249 is a fund we created for state special projects. And you can see we're anticipating $3.4 million of state revenue. That's the CTEC grant. So CTEC, we've been approved for the grant, but we have to, it's a reimbursement model. So I have to pay the architect and then send that invoice down and get reimbursed from the state. So next year, as we start digging in the dirt, we're going to get $3.4 million to help pay for the CTEC project from the state. That really is where we're going. You can see that the dollars budgeted for the capital outlay. Then Fund 435 is where we get that annual payment for our state facilities fund. I'm guessing, that's a guess, it's a formula on the revenues, depends on state surplus and a lot of factors, so we don't know. 1 year we got 1.3, last year we got over 2. It's just a guess that it should be between 1.5 and 2 would be my guess. Our capital outlay is two things. About $1 million of that is our CTEC, we're getting a 3.5 from the state, but we're spending 4.7. So this is where we're making that difference. And this also will cover the Sagal Elementary foundation project. So this is where it's sort of budgeted for next year. Okay. Fund 436, this is where you see we're beginning fund balance of $17.3 million. That's those dollars we received from the state. So right now they're in our investment pool and collecting interest, which is a good thing. And so that $400,000 is the estimated interest that we'll get for those dollars for the year. Wow. Yeah, it's no joke, right? Yeah. Capital outlay is just an estimate of $6 million, because we'll start incurring costs for Sandpoint Middle School next year. If we have to pre-order the equipment, we may have to write a check. We'll definitely be getting some design fees in and some of those fees. So I budgeted some dollars to cover that. But obviously, we're planning for the Sandpoint Middle School project to be about $18.5 million. But both of those costs are going to happen when construction really starts, not next fiscal year, but 2026, 2027. And so right now, there's actually more slides here, but I stopped here because they're just more of those individual funds that were in your packet. They're showing the other funds, but I don't know if I need to go over in detail. That's up to the discretion of the board. We can end right here if you have that, but I was just trying to show you the highlights of the budget, and that overall the district's in good financial shape, and we should be in good shape next year. And I can continue, or I'm here for questions from.
Yeah, no, I mean, it looks great. I know that we have a lot of money rolling out to fix up a bunch of old stuff, but we're in great financial shape, and that's thanks to everybody in here, especially you guys, so thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice place to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, appreciate it. I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to adopt the 2025-26 budget for Lake Monterey School District Number 84 as presented.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes.
And on the next few things, Facilities Director Matt Hill's here, and Brian Moss, they can answer questions should you have them, they can come up to the podium.
Yes. So next up, we have the agenda request for the state elementary CMGC. Do you guys have any questions on this? I know we've spoken about it prior to today.
No, we talked about it already, so.
That being said, I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve Gino Construction as the construction manager and general contractor for the Segal Elementary School floor joist replacement and repair project.
Second. Is there any further discussion on this? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Next up, we have the CTE project at the high school. Again, we've been over this quite a few times. I do like that we have a maximum bid from Gino Construction. You guys, does anybody have any questions on this? These were groundbreaking the other day. We talked about it a little bit further. And I am correct, right? This is starting now, and their kids are going in there.
All
in
of
the fall.
2026.
Also.
No, it's gonna be a year of construction.
Yeah, both, yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be fall of 2026.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, do you guys have any questions?
How was the maximum amount that
Matt?
brought up? I mean, that seems like an amazing deal to me.
Yeah.
In today's world, to have something like that, I think is really good, so.
They, so it's sort of that two-step process. One is once we got them on board, they worked with, we had meetings with ourselves and the architect with Longville Trap. And we started, doing the design of the building, the square footage. And actually, when we first started the design of the building, it was bigger. And so as we're going through that process, this is early. When did we start that? There was snow on the ground.
Yeah.
So one of the things as we started going and looking at that is that Gino started contacting their subs that they were going to ask and say, what type of pricing are you going to get us for the plumbing, the HVAC, things like that. So that's when we decided that, we have too much square footage. And then how can we save some square footage? So that was the first things we did when we did change that design of the project a little bit moving forward. But then at some point, you sort of have your building, and that's what the plans that are designed. And what happens then is that, Longville Trap first sends that down to the state to get approved. And I don't think we've gotten that back yet, but we should. But then those are also the plans that are given to Gino to share with the subs who come out, and the subs bid on those prices, saying, here's the plans, what we do for electrical, what we do for plumbing. And then Gino has, if any work that they're going to do, they have to also bid, and if they're not the low bid, they don't get it, depending on the work. So we did that, and it was just last, it's like, trustee would every construction project, it always seems to be at the last minute you do things. It was last Friday when when did I go there? Last Tuesday, the 3rd, that the subs submitted the bids. I went down to Coeur d'Alene to their offices and saw them come in. because that's actually part of the law, that we have to have a district rep as they look. So then they took the 3 days to sort of vet, did they read the plans and actually submit what they're supposed to do? And then they select the responsible bidder who was there.
Yeah, and I just like the guaranteed maximum, because you have change orders and you have
Right.
things during a
And
project
there are
that
some of the law-
accumulate, and then you're all of a sudden you're
Correct,
over
it could
budget.
be blown, and there could be, it's somewhere in the law and with the contract, with the CMGC contract, that there can be a changeover of something that's complete, like if they dug in the ground and something completely unexpected came up, you're sort of stuck, but if they're, you know,
If it's
suddenly
per
their
plan.
subcontractor says, no, prices went up, we should be okay. However, some of those contracts with the subs, I gotta tell you, there might be some language for like some of the tariff stuff. And if that comes in, there could be an impact there. But some of that we can't avoid. Hopefully not. The good thing I feel about the bids though is part of that, there's a $70,000 contingency on the Juneau side that's in there.
Oh, good.
So, you know, having that contingency right there on the hard costs, and then some of the other costs that we have to make of the project, where we're paying the architect, technology, the furniture that we have budgeted, some of those are, I mean, they're good.
Good change.
Good,
Yeah.
we might have a little bit of contingency there too, so.
Okay.
I felt good about the number, because, you know, when I didn't get the numbers till Friday, then Matt and I worked on crunching them, saying, have we forgot anything? And we're definitely within the 4.7 that the board approved. And so we feel good about that, I guess. If bad luck really happened, I guess you could never say never, but I think we're in a good place for that square footage of the building.
And they've been involved in looking at these plans, have been involved with the design for so long. I think that they're comfortable. They know a lot of the details about the project, and that's, I think, what you get at CMGC.
Yeah.
That
That's great.
that you can get that guaranteed maximum price.
I want to, thank you guys for answering those questions. I also just want to make sure that everybody knows, I mean, it's a huge, huge deal for Idaho Forest Group to step up, and
Yes.
just at groundbreaking the other day, they said that they're going to be supplying the lumber, and that is massive, so.
And
huge thank
and
you.
these numbers don't include that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's all money that will come back to us for as much lumber as hopefully we get a lot.
I mean, so that's,
Whatever they're willing to do,
cool.
I mean, it's just fantastic.
Yeah.
It's
It was really neat.
And there's some design elements, you know, in working with them and knowing they're interested in partnering, and there was some interest in support early on.
Mhm.
We incorporated some design elements to the building that feature like wood soffits and wood ceilings in the entryways. Well, you'll walk in, you'll see tongue and groove raw wood, well, sealed raw wood, which is to you know, access the area, and I think they're happy about that too, and that's specifically designed to a spec of material that they mill locally.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
I had one question. It's just formality, but financial considerations, it doesn't list in here where that money, the cost is going to be coming from. Does that need to be in here, or should it be in here? On this?
Oh, the financial considerations?
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a done deal, but does it, for this process, does it need to be listed?
Yeah, I could have put that in. I mean, the dollars definitely are coming in the budget presentation from that grant, that 3.5 million I showed you in that fund.
3.7.
I was just thinking, like, for the record, if it needs to be in this
No.
actual thing that we're approving.
That'd be a question, I don't believe so.
I will, that's just the
The next-
agenda request, but I can put this
Yeah.
in the minutes
Okay.
to reflect that.
It's the same, that's the only thing on the next one as well, the art room doesn't have the cost considerations, like.
And that goes in the minutes, I think, would be,
Okay.
historically would be even better, because she doesn't have that.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. I think we're good on that one. I will entertain a motion if there's no further questions, please, gentlemen.
I'll make a motion to approve $4,096,000 for the C-Tech General Contractor General Construction Contract.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you. Next up, we have the SHS art room bids. And Jalen, to what you were just speaking to. And actually, I want to point this out. We were lucky enough to have a generous donation from a private citizen of $100,000 to fund this project. So really there, I mean, barring something strange happening, there is no financial consideration for us. It is not costing the district anything for this. So really, really exciting that this is happening and somebody was willing to do this. So moving on, you guys have looked this over. I'm sure we have. We got a couple bids. Stancraft, I don't think they're supplying an actual bid.
Yeah, they said they were too busy.
Too busy. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, went out to bid for the updates to the art room at SHS and
Just for on the record, so in the minutes, it is the Romy and Stephen Visual Arts Center is what it's officially going to be called. And Mr. Deal, Studio, thank you, Visual Arts Studio. And it has, he's already got a font, and unbeknownst to us, Jackie and I both picked the same font, so that's what we went with, without knowing it from each other. Yes, and then I checked it through the donor to make sure that he was okay with it, and he was great with it, and we're really hoping, it's gonna be done for the fall, and so Matt and I are really hoping we're gonna be taking pictures and hoping that he'll be able to physically come and see it before, yeah, so that would be really happy part, yeah, so.
that's fantastic. All right, I will entertain a motion for the bid at the SHS art room.
I make a motion to award Sandpoint High School art room project bid to BF Builders for the amount of $95,000.
I second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. That motion passes. Thank you guys. And next up, we have the Region 1 Co-op for Nutrition Services. And this is where we just go up with the districts around us for nutrition services. Pretty straightforward. We do this every year. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. I would entertain a motion for Resolution 2503.
I make a motion to adopt Resolution 2503, Region 1 Cooperative Services for the 2025-26 school year nutrition services.
Second.
Seemed a little redundant, but still made the motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you. Next up, we have a calendar change. And we are just planning on moving the July meeting to July 1st instead of the 8th. We have some folks out of town. I'll entertain a motion for the agenda change. Calendar change.
I make a motion to move the July 8th, 2025 regular board meeting to July 1st, 2025.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you. All right, now we are jumping into second reading of policy. And first one up is 2300, guidance and counseling.
And Chairman Williams, just letting you know, I don't know if you've got a chance to see this, Trustee Peters, if this meets what your intent was, the screen part
I
there.
think so. I think it's great.
Okay. And then the other piece is Dr. Jansen met with the team and pointed out that this number 6, we would like to strike out. That we don't have the resources any longer to follow people into post-secondary, so we don't want to commit the board to anything that we don't actually do. So that's what that changes there as well.
Agreed. Do you guys have any questions or comments on the changes here? No. Okay. I will entertain a motion for adoption of 2300.
I make a motion to adopt the revisions to policy 2300, guidance and counseling.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. Next up, we have 4150, accommodating individuals with disabilities. A few changes in here. Medical, and some new code references. Question. Trustee Demers, did you say that you had a question?
I did, it was on the, I can't get to it for some reason.
Is it on this one, this policy?
Yeah, there it is. A minimum of 10 days, school days. Is that, so if something needs, if someone alerts us and says, okay, I can't attend this because of this, is 10 days enough to fix something? Like it may be a ramp or it may be something other than that, that is 10 days enough to fix that? Is that a big enough window?
You guys can redo a boiler in about 10 minutes.
Yeah. I'm just thinking if something's coming up, and let's say that we have quite a few people that are handicapped or something, and we don't have the space, I mean, can we,
Well, what we would likely do in that case would be move a program.
okay, if you couldn't accommodate or had to build something, you'd just move a program, and 10 days would give us plenty of
Well,
time.
this is like a really quick, I haven't really studied this, but
This is not for students, this is just for
oh, this is for staff,
Yeah, it's-
community.
It's,
This
yeah, it's
isn't
for
for
community.
students.
for community. Okay.
Yeah, that would.
So community, we would move the event.
Yes, move the event.
Okay.
It's just wanting to give us enough days so that we would know if we.
Thank you for thinking about us.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
yeah, because I know that, it's like the last thing that you want to do is,
Well, in the
set up
boardroom
out
downstairs, we'll take care of the,
Right,
that's why we're having the
right.
boardroom downstairs.
Right.
And the program at Sanford High School with Mr. Gray up above is moving down into C-Tech.
Right.
So we're really looking at that stuff.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Trustee Peters, do you?
No, I just said it's better than the previous thing. I said as far out as possible.
Yeah.
3 hours, that's just all I had.
Yes.
All right, I will entertain a motion for adoption.
I make a motion to adopt the revisions to policy 4150, accommodating individuals with disabilities.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. Next up, we have,
Chairman Williams, this is just to delete
Yes.
because we don't have Nickleby anymore,
Yes.
no child left behind, so we're deleting
I will entertain a motion for
I make a motion to delete policy 4160 NCLB, notice to parents.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes.
She said Nickleby, I didn't say it. I didn't bring myself to do it.
Okay, next up, we have 4175, required annual notices.
And Kelly Fisher has updated all of them, and they're all in yellow, and she's got them all linked in.
There, yeah, that's great, thank you, Kelly. Does anybody have any questions or comments on 4175? Pretty straightforward. Thank you, Kelly. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to adopt the revisions to policy 4175, required annual notices.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you. Next up, we're jumping into non-action items, and first up, we have the pass system at LPOSD. We have,
So Chairman Williams,
Yes.
as the board, just reminding you that when we had before a presentation, we said that we would come back with parent survey, staff survey, student survey. Both high schools, comprehensive high schools are using it. So I've asked the admin if they will come, and then Amanda Howman, the counselors, I'll bring up the percentages, and then if we could have them come up, they can answer any questions that you may have.
Yeah.
You have the parent feedback that came from Sanford High School, and then you can see all the letters of support here.
Yeah, and thank you for compiling all this for us.
So if you guys could come up here, it would be great.
Yeah, I had the same copy, I couldn't hardly read it now.
So this is a little, Kelly did a great job of getting it all on one page, so I know it looks, but we just really wanted to see it all at one glance. So this, up here, they're from Sanford High School students, down at the bottom is the parents, and then you can see the staff. And I will let the high school administration talk to it, or you can ask questions, but I just wanted to get it all on one page.
Yeah, I'll open it up to you guys first.
Yeah.
I wasn't really shocked by the data, to be honest.
Yeah,
But-
I think the shocking one actually is the students, because it's like if you surveyed them on, do you like detention? So 40%, I was like, whoa, all right, good work, fellas. So yeah, it really wasn't. We had been speaking with our teachers throughout the year, because it was kind of like, hey, if we're not going to do this, we really need to make sure we plan ahead and we have all these, our same things in place, or anything we need. And also, are you guys liking it? What can we adjust? What can we do to make it better? And so we kind of knew that the staff really liked it. And then, yeah, parents, I think most of the time when I deal with parents, especially in any sort of, whether it be discipline or attendance situation, our community is very supportive of accountability, right?
Mm-hmm.
And communication. And so this really increases both of those, accountability and communication. So.
And noting if they haven't heard about it, that really is
That's a yes.
a yes, or a neutral, like they don't.
Well, that's what,
Yes.
there was a bunch of that in there, like, how could you not have heard about it, which means you're just,
somebody
whatever,
wasn't-
it's
Yeah.
fine about it, yeah, so.
Your child wasn't complaining.
Yes,
exactly.
100%,
Right,
yeah.
they weren't having those conversations.
And then there was a lot of positives also at Clark Fork, and they even started it with a pilot in 8th grade. I think you might have seen that the year before, and then started the whole school.
Yeah, we've been using it for a year and a half successfully, and I would agree if you ask the kids right off the bat, it's like, heck, no, I don't want that. But our old passes used to be old helmets, and so I think it works out better for them this way anyway.
Our younger kids with having our junior high also, we have seen huge positive things come from junior high, of not having that large crowd in the bathroom, feeling more comfortable, being able to go in there. So even when we talk to our junior high kids, our junior high really likes it. I think most of our high school, right now, they can just care less about it. I mean, we don't hear them complain about it, they just do it, move on with their day. From a safety issue, it's been huge for Keith to know where kids are at all times. It'll pop up on the screen.
That's the CSO.
In the office.
The CSO, yeah. And the front office can see kid walking down the hall, oh, yep, they're supposed to be out of class. We don't attach any pictures or information other than their name, so we know who's going where, and then it tells you where they're going. So if we see a kid go from a classroom to the bathroom to the drinking fountain to some other classroom, we can be like, that's not where your pass was going. So from the safety standpoint, we can see where all of our kids are at all times. So that's been a positive.
I want to say also, when we were first looking at this thing, being a 7-12 school, it's a little different than a high school, and parents, when their kids are going from elementary into the 7-12 setting anyway, a lot of them know our school, but you still have these little guys coming into school with some big guys, and not that all kids are absolute angels, but there's some things that happen in the bathrooms that sometimes parents just don't agree with. And so it's kind of nice that there are tools in the system that allow you to kind of filter out some of those problems. And so that's actually one of the reasons we went with this, because we had parents who were upset because there's vaping that happens in schools, and the bathrooms are not truly bathrooms, they can become lounges. And so the parents were upset about it. So this was one way that we were able to remedy those issues. And I don't want to talk like I'm blind, but our vaping has really reduced. And it's because we used to, hey, want to meet me at this time, and we're going to go in there. And so it's made parents more at ease. It's made a lot of the kids more at ease because it gives them an out as to, I don't want to be in there when stuff's going down. So it's helped our school immensely.
That's great.
And one of the other things too, we don't limit our kids' bathroom passes. In the system, they get a set amount of passes for the day for the bathroom, and then a teacher has to make their pass. So they always have that option. And then our 504 SEC kids, if that's one of their accommodations, the program allows you to go in and just do unlimited passes for them. So none of our kids are limited or told can't use the restroom. I mean, they're all allowed to. It's just whether they can create their own or whether the teacher creates it.
And one of the things we were looking at when we went to it too was proactively as we moved to our 6 period day, Fridays are going to be flex Fridays. We wanted to put a system in place where students could request access to teachers and teachers could request students to come to them. So that was a big sell for us, that this was a way to manage not having 50 kids show up in our class. You know, if they need support and helping to, you know, give teachers that option to say, I need these 5 students to come in, but, you know, the rest of you will make a different plan. So it monitors that as well.
All right.
Well, I think you ought to be commended for it, because I spent an hour in everybody's school this year, and especially an hour walking around with Phil, and I never saw a kid out of class. I mean, and I went at all different hours of the day to all the schools. You know, you had a little guy here or there or whatever. Very rarely did I see 2 or 3 people out at the high school. I don't think I saw anybody out. Clarkport, I know he didn't. So, you know, it's to be commended, and a lot of people have talked to me and say, you know, this is not a bad deal. This is, I mean, we know where our kids are and it's accountable. And if you're going to put police officers or, you know, CFO students or people in there, they need to know where these kids are. I was impressed going into all the offices. I was going, wow, videos, that's cool. Because, I mean, I could see everything, and there were no kids in the hallways. So you guys could be commended, but I thought that was awesome.
Do you think that the cell phone policies or anything we've implemented with that has been a factor with kids not meeting up in the bathroom as well? Like, or are we contributing all of the success to this program? You know what I'm saying?
I know. At our school, I could say yes and no. I mean, I know kids who have 2 cell phones. So even if we do away with all,
They're emailing on their phones
Yeah.
sometimes.
They'll
They're
figure
like,
it out.
they're still, they come up
They
with
come up with
ways.
methods to.
Or they set a time
You
during
mean that when
class.
people want to sin, they'll find a way to sin?
Or during passing period, it's 10 minutes.
I will say, you know, in conjunction with the vape detectors at our schools, I have
Yeah.
been a better term too. So, I mean, I think it's a myriad
Right.
of different things that have contributed to it.
I did have one other question, and I could be, this could have already been presented, or maybe it's a dumb question, I don't know. But how does it work from year to year? Say you have a kid that's a freshman who's pretty problematic, right? And you're having trouble with him wanting to hop class or whatever. How much of that data is left over or tracked into his sophomore year? And kind of like, I guess I'm asking in the approach of, is it held over his head? Like, or does he start completely fresh the next year? Or is there any of that data that you go into his sophomore year, like this dude is going to be skipping class, and you treat him that way from day 1 without any chance? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so at Clarkport, we don't track from year to year. It's only the current year you're in. We don't keep any of the data from the past year. So those kids all start fresh from the beginning. And really, we haven't had huge issues with our kids in using this. I mean, there's times where you're like, ooh, someone's been in the restroom for a long time, go check on them. They just aren't feeling good that day. But we haven't seen a huge, there's a couple of kids that you're like, well, they use all their passes every day. They make sure they get them all in. But, yeah, all that data goes away at the end of the year, and we start over in the beginning.
So the reason I asked is because I think probably I could speak for a lot of these parents that would put no on that, that they don't love the AI or tracking or all this progress that we're making. So I guess it would be a question also for Sandpoint High School. Is this something that we would want to implement as our approach to where we can tell parents like, hey, after this year it's all wiped anyway, to help talk some of these parents off the ledge, so to speak? Does that make sense? Because I feel like that's probably one of the biggest reasons is the tracking and data keeping, data mining. that these parents say no, and I would say no as well, for those same reasons.
Yeah.
You
But
see what I'm
that-
saying?
That's what you're doing, correct? You're gonna just use it for 1 year and then it's going to.
So it'd be the same approach as
Same
Barbara.
approach. It all goes away. Yep.
Okay.
And I think kids change so much too, from year to year. I mean.
A freshman to a senior is
A freshman to a senior is two totally different. So to hold data from freshmen when they're a senior, when,
Different friend groups.
It wouldn't serve as a purpose.
All changes.
yeah.
Teenage boys from freshman and sophomore year can be completely different. So,
What, puberty matters?
Yeah. Well, and I think, like I said, I wasn't super surprised by this data. It's sometimes hard to get high school kids to say yes to anything, so that didn't really shock me. But I think the overwhelming benefits of this program definitely outweigh the negatives that come from it. So I think it's a good program. Thank you guys for.
Well, just add, it's a consistent system, so every room is doing the same thing. And so we're not having this confusion of, this teacher does it this way, or I do it this way. So I think that's taken a lot of the fight out of it, the argument. Even as a teacher in class, I know, well, Mr. So-and-so does it this way. Well, no, we're all on the same page. So it's been really positive for everyone.
Okay. Thank you guys. Anything else?
Thank you.
thank you guys.
Good job.
All right, now we will move on to first reading of policies. And first up, we have 1400 board staff communications.
And this Chairman Williams is just talking about, when we had our board workshop training, of going, at least notifying me or talking to me so that I can either go with you or give the heads up to the principal, just talking to me first.
Oh, I thought you pointed at this guy. I'm interested with. I thought that we were already doing this, or was it just in practice?
It was in practice.
Okay.
I actually looked at the policy after talking to Dan, and we had been practicing that, and it wasn't in the policy, so I've just been putting it in the policy.
Good idea.
That's the only thing that's in this one.
Pretty straightforward. Any further questions or comments? Okay. We'll move on to 2398, response to intervention.
And we do MTSS now, multi-tiered systems of support, which is, we don't just do RTI, so this is embedded in the other, and so this is why we're deleting that.
Okay. And then next up, we have 3320, substance and alcohol abuse.
So for this one, we took out some of the things that we are not doing in practice that have been in there. You can see that this has been going for a long time. And we had an incident where we realized that the alignment of the board policy to practice wasn't, so we changed some of the verbiage and took out things that we were not doing. You can see the last time that this had been revised was in 2018. So if you have any questions about that, I don't know if you had a chance to look through it or not.
No, that's all. No, I don't have any questions. No comments, questions? Okay, guys. Moving on to administrative announcements. Does anybody have any announcements?
I mean, it's the end of the year, the beginning of summer, and it's a wonderful thing. I want to thank Chris Taylor, he's got finished his first year as assistant principal. When you look at that, one trusted adult and the attendance, he's a big part of that San Bernardino High School, and I just really appreciate all he's added to the team.
Good job, Chris.
All these things, yeah, that's great.
I can say the same thing. It was a great year. I appreciate everybody that showed up to the graduation next year. Hopefully everybody can make it. You never know. The elementary track meet went off. It was amazing. It's a ton of work for our little school. Like, it takes every single person to make it run, but it's amazing. If you ever have a chance to attend that and you have never been there, same thing. Show up because it's amazing. And then
Yeah, thank you to Mr. Mack for all
I
his work
agree,
on
yeah.
that ribbon.
I have all my teachers hired this year. It's gonna be awesome.
Good job, guys. I wanted to give a special shout out to Matt and also Matt Brass. I was at all the graduations I know that SHS and LPO are not at our facilities, but the facilities look fantastic. The technology has worked fantastically well, and to pull all that off, and the groundbreaking the other day, everything just went great, and the places look fantastic. So thank you guys for all your hard work, and thank you to Matt Brass and his team for always being ready and having everything set up and no kinks. So a really great end to the year.
And Chairman Williams and the board, I do want to acknowledge this is Andrew's last board meeting.
Oh, that's right.
And so a big, huge thank you. We have our last K-12 admin team meeting tomorrow, and we're going to be having a send-off for her, but thank her for all her work for 9 years and helping it.
Thank you.
She got to end on a high note. Did you see how great those
scores
were in elementary? And a lot of that can be attributed to her leadership of, we started, when I came back, we started a data dashboard. The three of us talked and got that data dashboard going where what gets measured gets done and you really look at data. I don't know if the board knows, but she went every single month to every single elementary school to meet with the principals, and she specifically was talking data and looking at the data and writing reflections up. So a lot of stuff behind the scenes happen. Casey does it with the secondary, but just highlighting Andrew right now, but a lot happens behind the scenes that you don't know that goes into that work. And so a lot of it was because she would sit with people and reflect, well, how can we work on that? What can you do? How can you improve that? Getting her instructional coaches to go into the rooms and just strategies she had. She did some instructional audits this year with teachers and principals that didn't know the math, where it needed to be stepped up, where they should be in fidelity with the program, with our new Eureka Squared. She would go and she did walkthroughs with them. So there's just a lot that she does behind the scenes that contributed to those scores that we don't recognize. I could be here talking for another hour about how she supports that work. But suffice it to say that Casey and I are going to miss her, and we kind of joke about it. She was a valedictorian, so sometimes we depend on her. Casey and I are joking quite a bit about, and we're going to be fine. Nobody freak out with it. But we are going to miss her terribly, and she really has helped a lot behind the scenes and a lot of support, like she's just been a real gentle person behind helping people move people in a way that you aren't seeing out in public, that she does, really like unsung hero. Yeah. And so I just like to thank her for all her work to get to this point. So thank you.
Serve here. It's our goal that our daughter finish high school here. I mean, I have complete faith in Team LPOSD and will carry every single person in my heart forever, because relationships, I think, are central to all we do, and absolutely those results are attributed to every single person who works in our system and every family connected to us, and that's special. So I really thank you for your support of all of us. So.
Yeah, we're going to miss you. We wish you the best.
Thank you.
Yeah. Foundation, you set a great foundation.
Yeah.
I'm not going to forgive Woodward, but but I still like you. So. All right, and I will. Nobody else have anything? Okay. All right. Well, who wants to step up and?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay. That's just
I have a copy.
Yes.
I make a motion to move into executive session as provided for in Idaho Code Title 74, Section 206, subsection 1B, to consider the evaluation, dismissal, or disciplining of, or to hear the complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent or public school student.
I second.
Okay. Roll call vote.
Roll call vote, Trustee Demers.
Aye.
Trustee Wood.
Aye.
Trustee Peters.
Yes.
Chair Williams.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. We're moving into executive
It's always different every time. Switch it up.